Kale stopped near the entrance, meaning only to stand there a moment before leaving. Then he saw him. A little boy, maybe 5 years old, darting across the grass with fearless energy, chasing pigeons that scattered in startled bursts. His laughter rang clear and bright, cutting through the distant city noise. Dark hair fell into his eyes as he ran. His knees were grass-stained. He moved with the reckless confidence of a child who believed the world would catch him if he fell. Something in Kale's chest tightened without warning. The boy tripped on uneven ground, stumbling forward with a startled sound. Before Kale could think, he took a step forward. But someone else reached the child first. Gentle hands steadied him, a familiar voice, soft but firm. "Easy, Eli, you're okay." Kale's breath left him. "Leo." He looked older, of course. Time had carved quiet strength into his features. There were faint shadows under his eyes, lines at the corners that hadn't been there before. His clothes were simple, practical, and he carried himself with the careful awareness of someone responsible for more than himself. The boy clung to Leo's leg, looking up at him with trust so complete it hurt to witness. "Papa, did you see me run?" the child asked, grinning. "Papa." The word struck Kale harder than any accusation could have. Leo brushed grass from the boy's sleeves. "I saw, but no more racing the pigeons near the path, okay?" The child nodded solemnly, then turned, and his gaze landed on Kale. Silver eyes. Kale's world narrowed to that single detail. Silver, bright, unmistakable. He had seen those eyes across cafe tables under bookstore lights, softened by laughter and shadowed by hurt. His knees felt unsteady. Leo followed the boy's gaze. Their eyes met. Shock flickered first, then recognition, then something guarded and unreadable settled into place like a door closing. Time didn't rewind, it held still, stretched thin. Kale forced his voice to work. Leo. His name sounded unfamiliar in Kale's own mouth, like a language he had once spoken fluently and then abandoned. Leo didn't move closer, his hand remained on the child's shoulder, grounding, protective. Kale. The boy looked between them, curious. "Papa, who's that?" The question hung in the air, fragile and enormous. Leo's fingers tightened slightly on the boy's sleeve, his gaze never left Kale's face. "Someone from a long time ago," he said quietly. That hurt more than anger would have. Kale swallowed. His eyes returned to the child, to the shape of his face, the familiar line of his jaw even in miniature, the silver eyes that made denial impossible. "He's mine, isn't he?" Kale asked. The world seemed to hold its breath. Leo didn't answer immediately. 5 years of absence stood between them, heavy and undeniable. Finally, he said, calm but cold, "Yes, he's yours, you just didn't stay long enough to know." The words didn't rise in volume, they didn't need to. Kale felt them like impact. The boy tugged at Leo's hand. "Papa." Leo crouched, brushing hair from the child's forehead. "Eli, sweetheart, can you play on the slide for a minute? Stay where I can see you." Eli nodded and ran off, glancing back once at Kale with open curiosity. Kale watched him go, a strange ache spreading through his chest, fierce, protective, undeserved. "I didn't know," he said, the words sounding small compared to the space between them. Leo stood, straightening slowly. "No," he agreed, "you didn't." Accusation would have been easier, anger louder. Instead, Leo's calm carried the weight of years spent not expecting anything from the man standing in front of him. Kale looked at him, really looked. "Why didn't you tell me?" Leo's expression didn't change. "You made it clear there was no place for me in your world. I wasn't going to beg for one for my child." The truth landed cleanly. No drama, no bitterness sharpened for effect, just fact. Kale had faced hostile takeovers, financial crises, negotiations that would have broken lesser leaders. None of it had prepared him for the sight of a small boy with his eyes calling another man Papa because that man had stayed. Eli laughed in the distance, the sound light and unaware. Kale's voice roughened. "What's his full name?" Leo hesitated only a second. "Elian." Kale nodded slowly, committing it to memory like something sacred. For the first time in years, the empire he had protected so fiercely felt distant, irrelevant. The only thing real stood 50 feet away on a playground, hair bright in the sun. And Kale Verdon, CEO, Alpha, Untouchable, realized he had lost the one thing he had never known how to fight for. Kale couldn't sleep that night. The city lights outside his hotel room stretched into infinity, but they felt suffocating instead of impressive. Every laugh he remembered, every warmth he had once known, echoed inside him louder than the distant hum of traffic. Eli's silver eyes haunted him. Leo's quiet strength haunted him. The life he had built felt meaningless without them. By morning, he didn't wait for courage. He went back to the park. Leo was there as he always seemed to be, vigilant, protective, perfect in the mundane ways that Kale had once dismissed. Eli ran toward them with a small soccer ball, brushing grass from his knees, oblivious to the tension in the air. Kale stopped at the edge of the playground, unsure how to begin. "Eli," he said, voice catching. The boy paused, head tilting, curious. "Elian," Kale corrected himself, swallowing hard. "Hi." The boy stared for a long moment. His father's absence had left him cautious, but curiosity outweighed wariness. "You look like me," Eli said. Kale swallowed again. "Yeah, I do." Leo's gaze, steady and wary, fell on him. "What are you doing here?" His voice was calm but carried every ounce of restrained emotion Kale feared. Anger, hurt, disappointment, authority, love. Kale took a deep breath, forcing himself to meet it all. "I came to see you, to see him, and to tell you I know I left, I know I hurt you, I want to fix it if you'll let me." The words felt small, inadequate, but they were all he could offer. Leo didn't move for a long beat. The silence was heavy, filled with 5 years of absence and pain. "You left because you were afraid," Leo said finally. "Afraid of scandal, afraid of judgment, afraid of responsibility." Kale's throat tightened. "Yes, and it was wrong, everything about it was wrong. I lost the one thing that mattered." "You lost us," Leo said, voice quiet but firm. Kale nodded, the weight of truth pressing him down. "I know, I don't expect forgiveness, I don't even expect a chance right away. I'm asking, let me prove I can stay. Let me be here not as a visitor, not as a man who walked away, but as someone willing to fight for us." For the first time, Leo allowed himself to soften just a fraction. He stepped closer, hand still on Eli's shoulder. Grounding himself and the child, "You don't get to lead us," he said. "You walk beside us or not at all." "I will," Kale promised. "I'll learn, I'll follow your rules, do everything I need to earn it, but I will stay." Eli, ever perceptive, tugged on Leo's sleeve. "Papa, is he staying?" Leo glanced at the boy, then at Kale. The answer hung in the air, unspoken, fragile, tentative, full of hope. Leo exhaled, "We'll see." And that was enough. Kale knelt slowly, opening his arms, careful not to overwhelm. Eli ran into them, laughing and leaning into the embrace without hesitation. Kale felt the weight of absence ease slightly, replaced by the warmth he had been denied for 5 years. Leo watched, measuring, still reserved, still cautious. But Kale didn't flinch. He stayed kneeling, holding the boy, feeling a heartbeat that was both his and not, and silently vowed he would never leave again. Days passed, then weeks. Kale visited Eli's soccer practices, helped with homework, learned bedtime routines. He watched from the sidelines while Leo remained protective, correcting him when necessary, testing him, forcing him to earn his place. Every mistake was remembered, every triumph noted. Slowly, deliberately, Kale began to rebuild trust, with words, with actions, with constancy. One evening, after Eli had fallen asleep, Leo stood at the doorway, watching Kale fold laundry, something mundane, intimate, a shared responsibility. "You've changed," Leo said, voice soft, unguarded for the first time in years. "You want this, not just him, not just me, all of us." Kale looked up, exhaustion and gratitude in equal measure. "I do, I never understood what mattered until I lost it." Leo stepped forward, closer than before, letting the air between them shrink. He didn't take Kale's hand immediately, but the barrier was gone and Kale understood the journey wasn't over. It would take time, patience, effort. But for the first time, hope felt possible. Kale stayed that night, and every night after, not as a guest, not as a man who had walked away, but as someone learning, proving, and finally belonging.